Hello students, in this video I'll be discussing CS1 Paper B September 2020 attempt. This was one of the easiest paper B which has come in this session as well as in the previous years also. This is a very direct paper. So let's start. An employee at a cafe has been trained to set the coffee machine so that an espresso coffee portion results in 2.0 grams of coffee being placed in a cup. Knowing that variations are expected, the employee pours 8 portions and measures the amounts to be this. The data can be entered into R. So this direct code has been given. Calculate an 80% confidence interval for the mean size of espresso coffee portions. So you have to calculate the 80% confidence interval for all of these. So firstly, amounts I have directly copied from the code I have copied. Now since this is a question we don't have a known variance in this, so obviously this will be a t-test. So first x bar is the mean amounts, sd is sd of amounts which is direct function, n is the length of the amounts, alpha is since you have been told to calculate 80% confidence interval, so alpha becomes 0.2. So x bar plus c of minus 1 comma 1 into qt 1 minus alpha by 2 comma n minus 1 and sd into sd by sqrt of n. So this is direct. If you see, this is the answer if I run the codes. Now there is a comment on whether the mean portion of coffee is equal to 2.0 grams. So we need to comment whether the mean portion of coffee, if you see the confidence interval does not contain the value 2, so therefore as the confidence interval does not contain the value 2, therefore the mean proportion of coffee is not 2. Okay, so very direct question. Next, a researcher has collected the following data on a group of students regarding whether they passed or failed an exam or whether or not they attended tutorials. So this is their tutorials and the pass fail data. The exam success has been given in the matrix. So again this had to be copied and pasted. So many codes are directly given. The researcher wants to establish whether tutorial attendance is independent of exam success using a chi-square test. So we are using a chi-square to state the hypothesis of this test. This is direct. If you see, H0 is tutorial attendance is independent of exam success and H1 is tutorial attendance is dependent on exam success. So this is a very direct part. Again, calculate the expected frequencies for the data under null hypothesis in part 1. So you need to calculate the expected frequencies. I have directly used first the test of sq.test. So if I run this and if you run test of this and if you see the test function test dollar, you see expected will give you the direct matrix. So I have calculated test dollar expect. This gives you the direct matrix. It can perform this test stating clear conclusion. So you have performed the test. Now you just need to run your test. So my test I'll run. So my test says Pearson's chi-square test with its continuity correction. X squared is this value, degrees of freedom is 1, p value is this. Okay, stating clearly a conclusion. Now if you see, the p value is less than 0.05, much less than 0.7. We have sufficient evidence to reject H0 that tutorial attendance is independent on exam success. So this you can frame and write in your own words. So this is 6 marks. You need to write and properly, but the main thing will be we reject the null hypothesis. Okay. For question number 3, very direct questions, very small. For question number 3, it was given a machine in a sweet factory fills bags of sweets to weigh 500 grams. The actual weight of the sweet bags is known to follow a normal distribution. So it's given normal distributions. The sweet manufacturer believes that machine is underfilling the sweet bags. A sample of sweet bags is taken and weighed as summarized below. So if sample is taken, the data can be entered into R using the following. Perform a suitable t-test to determine whether sweet bags are being consistently underfilled, stating the hypothesis. So this is again like the first sum. You just need to calculate the weight, run the weight. Your H0 is whether your mean is equal to 500 or mean is less than 500. Here if you do the t dot test, here it is weight and then mu is equal to 500. Alternative hypothesis says it is less than 500. So we use that alternative hypothesis is equal to less and confidence interval is 95% and you run this. So when you run this, you get this test values and then you have to propose an interpretation stating the hypothesis and level of confidence. Hypothesis is confidence level is 95% used, and so on, and propose an interpretation of your conclusion. So since p value is obviously 0.287, which is greater than 0.05, we have insufficient evidence to reject H naught at 95% level. So we will accept the null hypothesis as true mean is equal to 500 grams. Okay, so our test whether the sweets bags are being consistently underfilled is false. Question 4. Data were collected on average alcohol and cigarette consumption per adult per year for a number of countries. The data are given in a file smoking_data.rdata and contain the following information. Country, the country concerned. Alcohol, the alcohol consumption per adult per year. Cigarettes is number of cigarettes consumed per adult per year. Okay, so this has been given, and you have to construct a scatter plot of the data with alcohol consumption on the x-axis. So you have to have alcohol on the x-axis and the other things on the obviously in the y-axis. So if we do, you do a cigarette, this is data, and we do the plot of alcohol comma cigarettes, since you have been asked to comment on the relationship between data of alcohol and the cigarette consumption based on your plot. Okay, so we'll plot alcohol and cigarettes, alcohol on the x-axis, cigarette on the y-axis, and if you see, the data is somewhat positive relation, but it's a weak positive relation. Okay, calculate the Pearson's correlation coefficient between the data and the alcohol. So now we have to calculate the correlation. So if you see, the relation is 0.485, which as we inferred, it is a weak positive correlation. An analyst suggests using the following R code to modify the data. That alcohol.2 becomes alcohol of -C of 6,16, and cigarettes to become, again, two positions of these two values have been removed. Explain what the above code does and give a justification. So we'll just run alcohol. I'll just show you what alcohol does. So alcohol has these values, and alcohol ka, after removing this, I have alcohol comma 2 to be this. So if you go on to see, the value removed is here is 10.4, okay, and the last value, which is 4.7. Now we'll compare it with all the values. If you see, the 4.7 value was the lowest of all the values. Okay, so it was an extreme value. It is an outlier. The 16th value of alcohol is an outlier. It is too much, so it is affecting the mean. Okay, 10.4 was a very variably of effective amount, but it has been removed so that we can balance on the data. A higher end value is moved and an outlier is removed. Similarly, for the cigarette, if you see, if I run just the cigarettes, and I will show now cigarettes comma 0.2 after running it. So if you see, again, the outlier is the 6th position of the cigarette value, which is higher value, which was a much higher value, in fact 8.3 out of all the data. Okay, and the last value was 4.9, which is again a fairly similar to the mean. So these two values have been removed to adjust data to the following, so that we see if there is an improvement in the correlation between them. So for the remainder of the question, use the modified data and produce, construct a scatter plot with alcohol consumption and this. So now this, we have this alcohol 2 and cigarettes 2. So now if you see, there is a fairly closer points on this, so maybe the correlation has removed. Calculate the Pearson's correlation coefficient. So if you see, now the correlation has increased a much value, almost doubled from 0.4 to 0.8 and so on, and comment on your answer. So since the outliers have been removed, the effectiveness of this data has increased, and therefore the correlation between the two values have increased. Part 5, perform a hypothesis test for a null hypothesis. Pearson's correlation coefficient is equal to 0 against the alternative that it is positive. So you have to use the alternative that it is positive. So what we will do is correlation.test alcohol.2 cigarettes.2 method is equal to Pearson, alt is equal to greater, since we have been said that rho is greater than 0, and confidence interval 95%. So testing this, if you see, we get a p value of which is much less than, which is almost 0. So since we have a p value which is less than 0.07, we have sufficient evidence to reject H naught, that true correlation is equal to 0. We accept the alternative hypothesis is true correlation is greater than 0. Okay. Basically, you have to write all of these in Word. So I am just saying from my mouth what comment should be there for what portion. You have to write it in proper things in Word. A media bulletin has reported that higher alcohol consumption causes higher cigarette consumption. Comment on whether this report is justified on your analysis in part 4 and 5. So if you see that from part 4 and 5 we get a positive correlation. Positive correlation means if one increases, the other will increase obviously. So that means the media journalist, what the media journalist is saying is correct. Yes, if one increases, the other one will also increase. Okay. Perform a simple linear regression analysis on new data using a model of the form y is equals to alpha plus beta x, where the error terms signify follow a normal 0 comma sigma square distribution. Your answer should follow the fitted line plot on the data score and report the estimated parameter sigma. So if you see the model, first we know, so cigarettes comma 2 follows alcohol comma 2, so this is our model, and if you run the model you get the values of alpha and beta. So alpha is equals to minus 0.2985 and beta is this value. So if you write y is equals to minus 0.2985 plus 0.4221x is the form of the equation. Then we have been told cigarette consumption, and where the error terms are, you should answer your answer should show the fitted line on the plot of the. So if you have drawn the model is turned, you just do a AB line of model on this, obviously scatter plot and AB line of model. So this is the fitted line on the model, and you should also show the estimate of the sigma. So if you run model dollar values, you will see so if I go to my values, and if you see the error values have been given to us. So if you see residual standard error is 0.6228, so this is my value of the sigma on my parameter. State the proportion of the total variability of responses explained by the model based on your output in part 7. So if you know the total variability of responses explained by the model is the value of beta, so beta's value will explain in percentage. Okay. Plot a graph of the residuals of the model fitted in part 7 against the explanatory variable. So again, plot explanatory variable is the variable on the x-axis. So here you can do plot of alcohol 2 comma residuals, but this will not show you a line. So if you do plot of model comma 1, you see there's a line at 0 and there is this line, and this is again fitted values and residuals. So you can do this as well. This is nothing but explanatory. If you see cigarettes comma 2, this also works. Any one of the above will do anything. You can even do plot of this alcohol 2 comma model dollar residuals, and then plot and then see that if the this is 0 line and the values above and 0 are almost equal. Okay, and there is 2 values at 0. So since the values are almost cancelling out each other and there is very less variance in the model, therefore the model is a good fit. Okay, plot model comma 1 also says the same thing, that since there is this line, there is less variability in the model, there are some outliers. So this both of these are the same graphs. There is no issue with any of the graphs you follow. And the last is comment on the validity of the model based on your output. Since there is a horizontal line at 0 which indicates a constant variance, 0 mean, and the end false due. This is this is only a 10 sample data, so obviously a 16 sample data. So that is why, since the data is very small, that is why we don't know about the future assumptions. That is why this variance may be falling, but if the data was big, obviously maybe the variance would be constant. Okay, coming to question 5. A waiting time random variable x follows an exponential distribution with rate lambda parameterized as fx is equals to lambda e to the power minus lambda x. The rate lambda has a gamma prior distribution with parameters alpha and s. A Bayesian credibility model provides the posterior mean of 1 by lambda can be expressed as this. So this has been given to us at z value, with n being the number of past waiting times observed. Assume that the prior parameters of prior distribution gamma are 5 and s, Determine the estimate of the posterior mean 1 by lambda assuming n equals to 10 and by implementing m equals to 3000 Monte Carlo simulations. So we have been given alpha is equals to 5, s is equals to 1, n is equals to 10. So we need to find, and now we need to do 3000 simulations. So first we'll store x as the empty array, pm as an empty array which you can create. First part, just second, determine the posterior mean of this. So n equals to 1000, x is repeat, and then we create an xm which is repeat 0, 3000, and we pm we create this over here. So if you in part 1, posterior mean. Now for I in 1 to 3000, d is equals to r gamma 1 comma alpha comma s. So this is for one variable we are for one time we are simulating, and xi is equals to rexp n comma d. So that time we need 10, and then for posterior mean obviously you do a sum of x plus s divided by n plus alpha minus 1. So this is how you will get the values over here. Okay, and then you calculate the mean of the distribution. Okay, so this will not be there once. So mean of PM is equals to 0.248091. So this is what you get. For second position, determine an estimate of the posterior mean of 1 by lambda and the value of x bar when n equals to 1000 by implementing m equals to 3000. So this value we had calculated in our it's by default in our theory. If you see that if gamma is the value and gamma is prior and exponential is posterior, then what is the value of the posterior mean? And similarly you can do for this one also, alpha equals to 5, n equals to now 1000. The code remains the same. Only thing here is now we need to have an estimate and the value of x bar also we need when n equals to 1000 by implementing the m equals to 3000. So we for x bar also we have stored an array now. So now this for I and the value remains same, only thing is xmi now becomes mean of x also. So for mean of x also we are storing now an estimate. You can just take an average of both of these two arrays, so you will get the values of these two, the estimates of these two values. Okay, and the last is compare by visual inspection of the graphs in part 3 the distributions of posterior means of 1 by lambda and distribution of x bar when n equals to 1000. So we had stored it in PM and XM, so we'll draw the histogram of PM and XM. So if you see, histogram of XM looks like this and histogram of PM looks like this. Both almost looks exactly the same. Okay, and both follow gamma distribution. If you see, there is a exponential fall, so which is correct as our posterior distribution follows gamma distribution. And comment on the credibility model as n increases. So if you see, as n increases, model will always be much better model which follows by a central limit theorem. So the credibility of model as n increases will obviously increase. Okay, so this was our CS1 paper B, a very easy paper, nothing very difficult, nothing very tricky, all were direct questions. Okay, thank you.